Shadow magic. The city of Arinder never slept. Beneath its twisting spires and shadowy alleys, the air pulsed with the hum of unseen magic. Darien Nightshade, cloaked in black and burdened by the weight of his powers, slipped through the labyrinthine streets with practiced ease. He was a shadow mage, one of the few born with the gift and curse of commanding the darkness. The citizens of Arinder whispered his name with a mix of fear and awe. Some called him a hero for keeping the chaos at bay, while others branded him a monster for the darkness he wielded. Darien cared for neither opinion. His focus was singular, battling the void, a malevolent force that sought to consume their world. But as he battled the darkness, he found himself fighting another enemy, his own power, the burden of shadows. Darien's magic was a gift inherited from his mother, a shadow mage who had succumbed to the void's corruption. He remembered the day she lost herself, her once kind eyes turning into dark abysses as she fell to its whispers. He had sworn never to follow her path, yet each time he used his magic, he felt the same insidious pull. Tonight was no different. A rift had opened in the marketplace, spewing out creatures of pure void energy. Darien arrived just as the first screams pierced the night. With a flick of his wrist, tendrils of darkness coiled from his fingertips, wrapping around the beasts and tearing them apart. The crowd cheered as the last creature fell, but Darien barely heard them. He could feel the void's taint creeping along his skin, its whispers promising power beyond his comprehension. Clenching his fists, he shoved the temptation aside. He turned away from the crowd, disappearing into the shadows. The Mage of Light. At the edge of the city stood the Sanctum of Light, a sanctuary for those who wielded magic born of purity. Darien avoided the place, knowing his presence was unwelcome among those who saw shadow magic as a blight. But that night, he found himself at its gates, drawn by a light glowing faintly within. Inside, he met Alara Salwyn, a mage of light who had dedicated her life to combating the void. Unlike the others, Alara did not recoil at the sight of him. Her golden eyes, bright as dawn, studied him with curiosity rather than fear. "You're losing yourself," she said bluntly. Darien's jaw tightened. "I don't need your pity." "It's not pity, Mage of Shadows. It's an offer." Alara extended a hand, her fingers glowing faintly. "The light can guide you, if you'll let it." Her touch was warm, soothing the chill that perpetually clung to him. Against his better judgment, Darien found himself nodding. A fragile alliance. Under Alara's guidance, Darien learned to temper his powers. She taught him techniques to ground himself, to find balance between light and shadow. Their partnership was uneasy at first, their powers clashing like oil and water. But over time, a bond formed, a fragile yet undeniable connection. Alara was everything Darien was not. Where he brooded in silence, she laughed openly. Where he saw only darkness, she found slivers of light. Her optimism grated on him at first, but he soon found it comforting, like a flame flickering in the void. "What drives you, Darien?" she asked one night as they sparred in the Sanctum's training hall. He hesitated, his shadows flickering uncertainly. "To stop the void. To make sure no one else falls to it." Alara smiled, though her eyes held a hint of sadness. "And after that?" He had no answer. "The void strikes back." Their fragile peace was shattered when the void launched its most devastating attack yet. A massive rift opened at the heart of Arinder, spewing forth creatures of nightmare. The city descended into chaos as the beasts tore through its streets. Darien and Alara fought side by side, their magic combining in a stunning display of light and shadow. Together, they were unstoppable, cutting through the void's forces like a blade through silk. But as they reached the rift, the void's whispers grew louder, more insistent. "You are strong, Darien, stronger than her. Embrace the shadows and you can end this." Darien faltered, his magic wavering. Alara noticed his hesitation and placed a steadying hand on his shoulder. Don't listen to it, she urged. You're stronger than it. He wanted to believe her, but the temptation was overwhelming. The void promised power, and for the first time he was tempted to take it. The final battle. The rift's guardian emerged, a massive creature made entirely of void energy. Its form was ever-shifting, its tendrils lashing out with terrifying speed. Alara unleashed a blinding wave of light, forcing it back, while Darian's shadows coiled around its limbs, holding it in place. But the void was cunning. It turned its attention to Alara, sensing her vulnerability. A tendril struck her square in the chest, sending her crashing to the ground. Alara! Darian's voice broke as he ran to her side. She was alive but barely conscious, her light dimming. She grasped his hand weakly, her golden eyes meeting his. Don't let it win, she whispered. Rage and despair surged through Darian. The void's whispers grew louder, urging him to embrace his darkness fully. For a moment he was tempted, but as he looked at Alara he found clarity. He rose to his feet, his shadows surging around him. But this time they weren't tainted by the void. They were his, forged by his will. Darian unleashed a torrent of shadow magic unlike anything he had ever wielded. It engulfed the creature, tearing it apart piece by piece. The rift trembled and then collapsed, sealing the void away once more. The price of victory. The battle was won, but its cost was great. Alara's injuries were severe, and though Darian carried her back to the sanctum, the healers could do little to save her. As she lay in his arms, her light fading, she smiled up at him. You did it, she said softly. At what cost? His voice was raw, filled with anguish. You saved the city, she said. You saved yourself. Her light flickered one last time before fading completely. Darian stayed with her until the dawn, his shadows casting long, mournful shapes on the walls. A legacy in shadows. In the days that followed, Darian became a figure of legend in Arinder. The people hailed him as their savior, but he felt anything but heroic. Alara's loss weighed heavily on him, her absence a constant reminder of the price of victory. He continued to guard the city, his shadows no longer a source of fear but a tool of protection. And though the void's whispers never truly disappeared, he found strength in the memory of the light he had lost. Darian Nightshade, the Shadow Mage, became a symbol of hope in a city once consumed by darkness. But in his heart, he remained a man mourning the woman who had taught him to find balance and light in a world of shadows.